Well, what's kind of, the second stock round in an 18xx game is often not very interesting. Uh, you usually don't have enough money to start another corporation, and that looks like it's the case here. I don't see anybody, since everybody has a corporation, it's not the case. In 1830, quite often there's in a six-player game, there's a couple people who are investors, and they might float a corporation at this point, or they might wait till the third, but it's quite often in that second or third stock round. And there are more operating rounds here, so, a little bit more has happened. But by about this point in the game, you're looking to ditch some stocks and everything. But here, everybody's got their own corporation. So largely what they're going to be doing is investing, picking up shares. People who own the corporation probably don't want to buy the corporate shares because those are generating money. Unfortunately, for the director, the president in the game, this is a game where you can't divest yourself. There's no little games that you play with your own stocks. You're only allowed 50%. If you sell below 50%, someone else can take your company. That's standard at XX. So if you've got a good company and you're just trying to get a little extra influx in it, you can't, buy a share and sell it with the hope of buying a share on another turn or something like that. So that's kind of a restriction here. Whatever you start with, you have to basically make your initial plan right when you purchase your shares, which is an issue, where we see the LP choice to throw all the shares out. That was an interesting choice. I did not do that in my previous plan. We're going to see how that goes. I'm seeing some weaknesses in it. For the others, they're trying to keep a significant number in here that they can buy back. They may not want to buy their own shares, though, because that'll limit their choices. If they get up to that 50%, and it's fine that he's there, they're not going to be able to float additional shares out of the corporation. Other players may not want to buy those shares out of the corporation. They might want to always buy out of here just to prevent that big influx of cash that you're looking for when you buy that extra share. So there are some real differences in how the stock market works in this game, how the initial offering works and all that cause you to play this a little differently from some of the others. Again, it has some similarities, if I remember correctly, to 1880. But I've only played that a couple of times and never opposed. So, it doesn't stick in my head. Like, to me, the real canon of 18xx is, the 1830, the Mayfair games. Those are the ones that I really recall strongly, and I do remember some of the others that came out kind of early under a big publisher title. So, for example, 1835, which I despise, 1829, which never really did what I wanted. I always liked that 1830 stock market. This has some of those aspects, but it's lacking some. There's no desire to do these fiddly actions with the stocks, for example. Which, those fiddly actions sometimes provide you with a pressure valve that you can, fix a problem with your initial plan with the corporation. You don't have that kind of tinkering here as much. Although, like this guy with only 30% here, he's got 30% here, so if he wants to increase his purchase, the amount of money he's getting without impacting the income to his corporation, he can do that. If his corporation is strong enough, people are going to buy those suckers as investors. You're not going to be able to, one or two players aren't going to be able to usually prevent a corporation from getting the trainings that it needs if it's running well and giving out good income and promises to do so and everything. Those shares are too valuable for other people to just pass on unless they all agree to, which I have never seen that kind of shit happen. I'm sure there's a possibility for it. Every now and then there might be a situation where somebody can point out, look, he needs that train now. If he doesn't get it, he's going to be in trouble. Let's not buy any of his shares. Almost always, even if I've heard that, which I'm not positive I have, but I think I have heard things like that. I think I've made that plea, but again, I don't remember it. it's in someone's best interest to grab that share and make that money too, you know? Okay. So basically we're looking at investment here. And again, it may not behoove you to buy your own certificates in this case, because you may need to reserve those purchases for this. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where you could lose a corporation that you want. So now we're following this, and we're on Brown, which is number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 down here. So the other interesting thing here, though, is, and this doesn't usually happen in these stock rounds, you don't see a lot of cash on people. There's only like one guy who has enough money that maybe he can buy a share, right? $60 is my minimum. He does too. Okay. And he does. All right. So there's a few shares that could be bought. But on top of that, there is the private companies which can be sold. And they're done now, right? So that's what we're going to be following. So for example, this guy has the research lab. Well, I probably want to get that in the corporation's hand fairly soon. But it's not absolutely clear to me that I'm going to be able to take advantage of that plus 20 marker. I do have the option to do it when I want to, so it's not like on my first operating round I'm going to have to make the choice to put it there. I think I'm going to want to have that option as soon as possible, though. So I would like to sell this. I got a couple of trains on here. There's a fair amount of shares in there. I am going to sell it, I think, for maximum. One place that you have an opportunity to fiddle around with share prices, but again, it's not your own share price. I can invest in shares in other corporations and buy some of their shares out of there. And that'll be happening after the first round around. So now I've got a decent amount of money, $180. That looks like I could buy 2 shares of things. I've got a decent amount of money in here. I don't feel like I have to flood that with additional trains right now. It's got shares, so it's going to be pulling money in. So I am going, I'm not going to need a train purchase in the very near future, although one's coming up. This game does do things quickly. So now it's my kind of, let's look at what we can buy. Ideally, I would like to buy the more expensive shares because the way the track, not in this game. I was going to say, the way the track works in 1830, you usually want to buy the most expensive shares because they make the most money. Here, well, obviously I could buy 3 shares of LP at 60 each. I have that much cash. However, owning 3 shares of a corporation is begging for problems. So, let's take a look at the companies. That's the best other company out there. I'm allowed to buy 2 certificates. Do I want to go for those LPs? Yeah, they're just too scary to me. So I'm going to buy one of the LPs, and I'm going to buy it out of here. It's the only choice I have. So that's $60. What else is good? Mining Alliance has a couple of trains, but it doesn't look very pleasing. Actually, everybody's got 2 trains. What the hell? Maybe this is not my best choice, if that's the case. And I don't have a track of the values. It looks pretty well set up. So yeah, I'll buy that for 60. And what else looks good? I'm going to go for an MV. And again, I'm not going to do all the calculation on valuation. I'm allowed to buy 2 shares, so that's $140. I'm going to put them here. And since I bought it from there, I get my I get to deal just with the bank. I'm not dealing with the corporate treasuries. And I'll push this here. I see no reason to strip money out of to strip shares out of the corporation and buy them there. One reason not to do that is it might be difficult to sell those shares later if I buy them out of there. So that puts me to the next, which is over here. Now he has $85, $89, but he also has the Tunnel Company. Again, another one that I probably want to get out of my hands soon. Now, I could start another corporation. The Tunnel Company is able to get me $200. This guy might have been able to too. Mining, ME. It's not in a terrible location. It's near a couple of yellows. There are no track to start a corporation with, though. Rat-row. And that can happen at 1830 as well. Well, that puts me in an interesting position. What am I running? I'm running Intergalactic, which is up here. So if I buy it for 80 or less, I will be able to get rid of the Intergalactic piece, but it might not be my ideal move. I do want to sell this to Intergalactic, though. Don't I? I don't know. Getting that extra cash would be neat, but Intergalactic doesn't look like it needs any Mountain Blasts, and ME might. Of course, I won't have the money for ME in that case. Crappies. All right, we got to think. I see for all this exposition that I'm putting in as I'm playing on these kind of decisions, and I think it does serve a purpose because of that, is that even if I'm not seeing an issue, some of the things I may say may cause the designer or people in the design group or whatever it is to come to a decision of, you know, he's got a point there and I'm not sure I like that. It doesn't bother me. Perhaps I'm not noticing a problem in particular at this point, but the reflections might give some interesting information. So, damn. I mean, Intergalactic really doesn't look like it needs the Tunnel Company. ME, I could guarantee that ME has the track it needs if I started at $80. Having that second company might be a good deal. Problem with it? Well, I only have 30% of Intergalactic, so I probably can't do it. So, you know what? I am going to hold off a round and sell this later. Next round, the 7th corporation is available. I will probably be able to get one of those too. Now, I'm going to go with the highest cash on hand only goes first, rather than, I think there was some weirdness there, but like there was a conflict between the rules and the chart. I'm going to go with what the rules said rather than the chart there. Which means, Jesus, I don't want this in those hands yet. So what do I want to buy? What's good? What looks like the happiest of all the corporations? Well, honestly, the LP does not look that bad. It looks like it's set up really nicely and might make lots of money. Any others? IG looks the shittiest because I've got two trains. Two train. DSE, especially with the corporation, doesn't look bad. And it had to swallow for some reason. No, I failed to make a big run. LP has the biggest train. It has a 4 and a 3. That's going to last the longest. I'm going to buy me an LP. That actually puts less of my money at risk, too. The thing might sell out, and then it becomes an even better deal for all the investors involved in it. Okay. That's going to put me to green, which is the second player, I believe. That's the one I can't read. Well, blue as well, but because it's darker and my dark ink doesn't work on it. Okay. And I did not sell Tunnel Company, but I can do it later in the stock round. The spaceport. All right, so this is, do I need cash? And the answer is, of course I need cash. LP might have difficulty connecting. It's probably not a big priority. I put my dot down with the thought that I might not be able to connect, although I'll probably be able to get through this way. There's no guarantees. So, low as hell on cash with no influx. Wow, that sucks. 80 bucks, 130 bucks. I could not start a company with that. That would get me to 60 with 2 shares. So no. So I can't even buy a share if I don't sell it. So yes, I am going to sell that for maximum cash. I can buy the best remaining company. LP is the one everybody seems to think is great, but I'm like, why? It's definitely cash poor now, and people are probably rethinking their considerations. Now remember, one set of the rules says you can't just get rid of these. In fact, I think that's how the rules are meant to be played. I could tilt them, and that would prevent it, but other parts of the rules seem to imply that maybe you can, so I'm going to go with more of the canon here, just because playability-wise, I think that's easier to remember. It's hard enough to remember, did I sell a share? And I've gone over that already. So now I have 135. I could buy 2 LPs. So it's whatever is best out of the rest. Well, not intergalactic. Somebody else bought a brown. They probably know what they're talking about. Definitely not Moon Explorer. Yeah, we'll go with the brown one. And that is at 80 bucks. We'll buy right out of here. Okay. And that's going to put our next choice over to yellow. And again, I'm not going to be making these kind of expositions on every stock round. I can't afford that kind of thinking on camera continuously. But I do think it's still worthwhile. Okay. Moon Venture doesn't look like it needs a big influx of cash in any sense. Therefore, I do not have enough money, 25, 35, 40, without selling this. Do I want the cash? Yeah, I want the cash. I see no reason not. But this does connection to off-road. That's actually very likely. So we will sell this, and that's for 50 bucks. And then, now we have enough money to buy something. I don't think we want to throw more cash into Moon Venture yet. And I don't think we want to buy a Moon Venture. We're looking at the cash poorness of LP. So we are going to buy a DSE at 80. Why don't we do this right? And again, from the open market for reasons discussed. Although sometimes people come up with specific reasons they want to get some money into something. That's a level of play that I'm not terribly good at. All right, now we're at the Mining Alliance. Well, the Mining Alliance just has shitloads of problems, but I definitely want to sell this. So there's 10 bucks. And the Space Bridge Company, yeah, I want to sell that. I can sell that for 240. Well, I don't have 240. Always leave a buck on your corporation in case you need to buy a train and something happens. I'm going to put them both like this. Okay. And now I have wads of money. How much money? Let's see. Now, making this corporation this poor might not be a great idea, but I don't think I'm going to get to hear where the 3 trains die, so I'll survive. All right, I have 285, 288. I could start a new corporation at 90. This does not look at all bad, working with with MA, so we're doing it. And the guy who has the mountain blasting is kind of like, that sucks. And I'm going to be putting 270 in and then releasing some additional shares. Somewhat risky. Nobody's really got the cash to steal this from him except him. He still has the tunnel company available. He could steal that for 4 times 90, which is 360. This is worth 200. 260 doesn't have enough. Again, he had enough to just start it, and probably not at 90. So the person with the most cash actually got this. These go back. We'll be going another round, but before that, we handle the corporations. And the first one who has an option is Mining Express. Now, they can buy shares. Well, I could buy a Mining Alliance share. I'm only allowed to buy one at a time, one per stock round with a corporation. I could buy a Mining Alliance share and get some of my cash over into them. I have a lot of cash. I have 500 and something, but I'm going to have to buy a train for 240 if I'm not careful. That is a fairly large choo-choo and is somewhat disturbing. Okay, and then the other side is what? I don't know what the other side is. I'm just trying to think whether I want to buy a share that'll increase in value. I think I'm only allowed to sell one share per stock round as well. Probably allowed to buy or sell one if I read it right. I'll have to look that up. But that doesn't really affect my situation now. My situation right now is, can I make money off something? And Moon Venture can make money. So I am going to buy one of them for $80 over here. And that's going to make, once you have shares spread out all over the place, that makes calculations a little harder. So that's ME. I'm going to flip it over even though it hasn't run, because the next one's Intergalactic. Intergalactic has a fair amount of money. Do they want to invest in one? Well, they're in an iffy train situation. A new corporation's coming out. That last 4 train is going to be harder to get rid of, though. That's the question. Is anybody going to get rid of that last 4 train? Because ME is going to buy one of them. But the second one is a lot more iffy. I am going to take the chance that they're not. Therefore, I can use some cash, and I too will blow $80. This is one thing that happens in opposed games, which is this kind of groupthink. Somebody buys a share of something, and now there are less shares of that. And they've shown that, they've done some looking and seen the value in a corporation, and you look and maybe you look really hard, or maybe you don't look very hard, and you say, yeah, I see some value in it too. And now, you're looking at it a little differently. Venture. Moon Venture has a 3 train. That's going to have to get all the way out to there, or all the way out to here. That is not going to happen. I can afford to buy something. I'm going to have a stock round to sell it. But I can't buy my own. So I will buy a Deep Space. And this, again, I did not do this last time when I played. So this is kind of a new experience. I did do some corporate investment, but not this early in the game. Mainly because nobody else did it, right? DSE. DSE does not have a whole hoard of money. Again, they're not going to run out of trains, though. So we probably want to invest some of that cash. Although we have so little money, we won't be able to buy dots. Well, we'll be getting $10 here. All right. Why don't we buy something cheap so that we have enough cash to buy a dot? We'll buy a lunar. It'll probably make money. Things tend to. So this corporations being able to buy shares makes it more likely that the stocks will get sold out. Now the problem with that is if you're playing in less than 5 players. So 5 players, 4 other people could be holding your shares and other corporations could be holding. So there's a lot of opportunities for people to take it. Let's say you're playing in 3. There's only 2 other people who could be holding your shares, and they really do not want to ever hold more than 1 in a 3-player game. That I can almost assure you, because people have multiple corporations, and boy, they can hose you over. Okay, Mining Alliance has no money. DSE, I did. Mining Alliance has no money, and that puts me down to the final, the LP. And note, this guy hasn't done anything, but he has a certificate. LP doesn't have enough cash on hand, so we go back now to the prefixed player order, and player 4 over here has not much money. I have an LP. I would not be allowed to sell that LP normally. Well, under one interpretation of the way the rules are written, I would be able to in this case, but I don't want to. So I'll pass, and then I'll push that over to the right to mark that. Orange, not enough cash. Same thinking. Now it's the choice between buying a DSE because the MV is gone. It's not. There's those. Tank the stock value of the LP. We'll pass. Okay. Green over here, not enough cash. Yellow is player 3, not enough cash, and player 1 doesn't have enough cash. Now wait a minute. On orange, we're not able to do the tunnel company thing. Now there's no corporation to buy, so selling the tunnel company is even less valuable. Although I could buy shares and be collecting money into both places, but whatever. Okay, so we are set and moving into the operating round. I don't like the fact that there's a rocket for each of these. Honestly, I think, whatever is used here, that's fine, whatever. But for this, I actually would like to see this as a tile instead and have that show up. I'm not sure why. Just because this is kind of, I think the circle should be here, but I think the connection shouldn't or something. I don't know. But certainly these two things should not be the same. They should be different things that are there. And if you're going to use a rocket, well, the rocket should be on the launch pad then. And the other thing, maybe, just a big cube or a token. I don't care. Anything works. There are no tokens in the game, so yeah, I guess wood is the way that this design is intended to go. All right, kicking off this next operating round. Ouch. First of all, paid out the money to the privates. And again, I want to highlight one thing because this is something in a playtest situation definitely needs to be aware. The specialized handling where different privates go away at different times and all kind of stuff like that allows you to express, special cases about the privates better than most XX games do. But here's the problem. It means that each one has to be read continuously for, oh wait, is this one that disappears? What's going on with this? It's far better, in my opinion, to have standardized rules as much as possible. So like having all privates disappear, say here or something like this, would probably help in terms of getting rid of some of the fiddly mental floss that the game contains. A barrier like that might very easily prevent people from coming back and playing it again. You know, if they're finding themselves doing a hassle like that, like with the counters and the checks here, you want to make the game as easy to play as possible while retaining as much of the design as you can. Okay, well, I screwed up. Somebody started the ME, and it still has the same flaw as it did before, which is I got nowhere to run to. Which means I'm not able to build track. I mean, I've got nowhere I can build that track. Now, by starting it so high, I ensured that I didn't have a chance to build a track and hand it off. The other player who I think was considering it, which was, of all people, the person owning the Intergalactic, if I'm correct, would have been able, would have been starting it at a lower price and might have been able to do an upgrade and get in there. But he chose against it, and instead somebody else went with it. He's only got 30% holding, sort of the minimum you can have. It's not a terrible thing. Okay, and that will put me on the next corporation, which will be indeed that Intergalactic. The way it gets even stupider. Now, this guy didn't have a lot of shares and could have had the corporation taken from him if he had started it. But he actually is upgrading this, creating a yellow tile that would have been the right tile for this. All of that. So starting it, one of the negatives to starting it was actually not the case. Initially, I thought I would want to hook up one of these two, but I don't have enough trains on this thing. So I'll be running this, which will be 30, 70. I don't want to upgrade this. 70, and now this is a green tile, so that brings it up to 11 a share, which is not double, but it's enough to pay out. And I definitely do, it's enough to move me forward, and I definitely do want to pay out because of that. Come back if anything exciting happens. Something exciting did happen. You know, if that company is not going to run, and I've got the only corporation with a lot of money on it right now, I buy a third train. I'm going to be paying out. Yeah, I only have 30% shares here, but that's going to throw some money into the corporation as that train starts to run, and stock value is going to go up. It all looks good to me. It looks like almost a perfect circumstance for moving forward. On to Moon Venture. Moon Venture grabs this in order to pay a little extra to lay 2 tracks in order to do what? Grab a claim to one of these. Now, if I had upgraded the red, I could have gotten $10 for that. I do not want to upgrade that. Don't really want to connect that up. That's not my job, really. You know, let them do it. Do I need to dot? Well, you know, if someone dots here, I can always upgrade it and dot. Although I would prefer upgrading here because the black, you really do want to get that moving very quickly. And the payout was like 15, not quite a double move. He's in an interesting position here. So one thing I might like to do is build track down here where I could get, my total run would be 170 if I do that. However, that would use up the one yellow track that's available for ME. Now, is anyone else going to use it? Well, that's a good question, and oh fuck, it's not their turn, so I will not do them. I'll do DSE. But getting back to the thinking on this, lost track because of somebody being under it and whatever, having moved it there. The one thing that I'm worried about there, because I could drop my SD token here, and then I'd have 2 separate disjointed runs that would both, you know, that would maximize my income overall. The other side would be here, which would be 30, 70, and 70 is just 140. I can make more money by running out of down here. But if I eat that up, there's no assurance that LP or DSE, there's no assurance that the other company that's left, which was LP, would have a chance would actually upgrade. They might, but they might want to upgrade this instead and get into there, and that's hard to tell. Or they might maybe build track somewhere else, but that looks pretty unlikely. Chances are they'd be upgrading a city tile. I'll call them city tiles, and I would have something available to lay track with. That doesn't. But let's see what DSE does before I have to make that decision, because again, I lost track of where it was. He has a hard call. I could upgrade this to the one thing that would allow me to double gain that plus 20. And that would be a really sweet setup. What's my chance of getting that, though? That's a good question. ME has a track available right now. They could hook up immediately and dot that. They could prevent me from making the connection that I really want to do. Does that kill me? Not necessarily, because I could still swing up in there. So that's not bad. There's a danger that there's another of these double doinkers out there, which means I could lose that track that I really want. The other side of it, I mean, I have that plus 20 token, and it really, really wants to go here. There's no question about that. So, I think given what I want, breaking into here doesn't necessarily do what I want. One of the problems is the yellow track, if I upgrade that to green, this thing, I get less money. Is there a possibility of me double hitting this one? That's a good question. Let me see if I can work that out, because that would solve my problem. I'm doing a delay that I don't like to do. DSE ran for 18 a share, enough to get a double. By moving into here, dotting this is going to be a valuable space no matter what. The question is, did I want to put that research lab bonus on this? Now, if I do that, everybody and their mother can hit it. LP and I would each have 2 trains hitting it. If I set this up, I'm doing better for myself in comparison to some of these other players. But on the other hand, this gets me more, if I put it in here, I start getting a cash inflow right away, which is really appealing. But instead, I built towards here to help with this, and am delaying on the decision as to whether or not, I can put it here. Obviously, I don't want to put it here if I can't guarantee that I'm going to get a double hit there, because that's going to downgrade in value. But if I'm hitting it twice all the time, that's kind of appealing. But here, I'm already hitting this sucker twice. But I feel like I made the wrong choice, but I made it. And yeah, so we have some cash building up there. Not enough to buy another train. We got one person who has the 3 trains on him, the intergalactic. And that, now I get to make my decisions with MA. And MA's decisions are a lot easier because I got these open. So, the one problem is, if I take the curved track that I want, all I leave is a straight track for ME. I think I can live with that, but that may mean that DSE gets to set up its little golden game down there. Not that the player with the ME is necessarily thinking about what DSE is going to do. So that probably doesn't involve itself in the decision much. Oh fuck, I don't have 40 bucks to get into this hex, which is what I was looking at doing. So, I'm not quite sure what's going on anymore. One thing that's important about this is the timing of when the SD token gets placed isn't specified. And I'm going to play it this way, it can only be played when the corporation could normally play a dot. Well, that's too late for me to build track off that dot. Some of the games specify the timing of those kind of free erupt somewhere. You're allowed to lay a track. Yeah, so 1830 I think has that, where the D&H is allowed to lay the track and the dot at the same time, which is a very specific thing about that particular. It doesn't really impact the normal play. But when you exercise the capability of a private, that should be specified in the rules. Again, I'm going to do it as in it is in the dot situation. It also isn't clear, could I play it here and then upgrade that tile, which might be interesting. It's all very worded to it talks about the yellow tile. So the public company who later owns the old landing site can use this as a supply depot during the game. When a yellow tile is built, the token will occupy the SD spot and continue to do so during upgrades. The token acts as a slot blocker for all public companies until being sold as an additional supply depot. Now, I was told this is not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to work as a freebie one. So, and no matter what, I don't have the specifics of the rules as they are supposed to be right now to be able to operate this. So I'm just going to do it as if it's in normal token play. I think this is still the best place for me, but it means I can't do a tile upgrade right away. Well, what does that mean for this? Because I'd like to help the ME. The ME is going to have a hard time hooking up. It's not going to be able to hook up to both at once. So we'll build the track we know we need going to here. I wouldn't be allowed to even build this track going over there, except that I have the Space Bridge Company. I don't want to spend 20 bucks on another track at this point, because I don't know what I want to do over there yet. And then I move the SD marker here. It doesn't do anything to close this private company, but that doesn't really matter. The private company doesn't do shit. It doesn't give income or anything. So I'm just going to put it over here underneath there to indicate the ownership of that token, because that token is not a reservation anymore, as I first thought when reading the card. Well, as the card expresses, rather it is actually a bonus token, which is important because I don't have the money for the token. And that'll let me run only 2 twos, so that'll be 40, 50, 60, 70, 100, 140. He plays this track, which, since I'm already going here, I probably don't want to go in here. This seems like the most advantageous piece of track that I can build, because I want to get the upgrade, because oranges start making more money if I do that. I don't want to play a token, and I've got a nice little couple of runs because of it, which gave me like 17 a share. I paid it out even though there's nothing in here. At some point or another, that sucker's got to swallow. But I wanted to, I don't know why. I was going to say I wanted to increase stock value, but I'm not really sure how much I want to increase stock value, because other people are holding it, and I do need to get the cash in there. But I also need cash for myself. That 7th corporation is coming up pretty soon. The space mining over here. It's not in a bad place. Who's brown? I did not think enough. This guy is going to have first shot at it, not me. So I'm probably looking at not trying to build another corporation, because there's only one left and I'm not going to get it. Who am I? I'm green, so I'm the 3rd person with a shot at it. So making lots of money is probably not my immediate goal. My immediate goal is making sure my corporation is going to be good, since I have 50% of it. But so I might be swallowing next time. And that ends the operating round and gets me to the next one. I was also an idiot with the Mineral Express by not buying a train. And the problem is, and I'm just hurting this poor guy, but I think my corona is like causing me issues thinking wise. My mind is a little muddled. I think the problem I can't just undo that and say, oh, well, he bought one. Because lunar power, to some extent, some of the, well, no, Intergalactic may have bought its train later based on that non-purchase. Actually, I'm not sure of that. No. All right, I'm going to give him his train, because that way he doesn't have to go back another space. All right. Yes, he performs the upgrade. This doesn't guarantee them the double loop, but it's good enough that they put the marker down there, they put a token there, and they're running at 19 a share right now. Now, I would love to have another train for this company, but I just don't have any. Anyone would love to have one of these trains. They're the first permanents. They're almost always a good buy. But nobody's got that kind of cash on hand. 190 bucks, well, I made almost half of that anyway. So, but it wouldn't have gotten me up to the 370 that I need to buy one of those. Galactic makes a big 22 a share run, shooting them way up there. They've hooked up to here. This might be the better long-term solution, because this can be upgraded to a double space, could get us to the rocket launch pad, but we think we can get there pretty easily from there. We'll see. Sometimes the lack of track in this game, the limitations on the total number of tracks that you have, can prevent even what looks like obvious connections that could be made from being made. But this was the better short-term money to hit this, and long-term money, just not the protection. And eventually there is a triangle to put in place of the horns of happiness. Again, paying out instead of swallowing, getting lots of cash into here, cash into there. Swallowing might have been nice. I only have 30% of it, and I got the big tunnel company to sell, but I got a shot at getting that last company. And I don't see much value to Intergalactic having the tunnel company. Honestly, I don't know how much value there is to the tunnel company to be sure otherwise, other than the fact that you can sell it for a whole bunch of money and cripple one of your companies in the process, which may end up being neglected. It's like not selling the Camden Amboy in 1830. That'll put us to the MV. The MV upgraded this at a run of 170. It swallows, because I got me enough money to buy a permanent train. And that hurts a number of, there's a lot of people investing in MV. The owner only has 40%, there's only 20% in the corporation. So, you know, there are times when it just feels like it's the time to do a swallow anyway. But in this case, wow, that's going to kill all the deuces. And it brings the brown track already into play. It hardly feels like we've been playing at all, doesn't it? I mean, seriously. We've only done 2 stock rounds, and we're already in the brown tiles. Part of that is because of the multiple operating rounds per. Remember, you probably wouldn't see the green track come out in the first operating round in an 1830 type game, but there's more corporations here, so everything kind of gets sped up a little bit. Okay, and I did manage to find a track that looks pretty good. The only problem is I don't have the 25 bucks, just missed it, to get myself the dot here, and there's some danger that somebody could slip in there and get the dot. It doesn't look likely though. It looks like I'll have another run before that happens. And now that's going to put it over on the MA before the ME. And this is great. I've got my 2 companies lined up, running one after the other. That allows you to do track upgrades and stuff. You know, like I could replace this and know it's available. I don't need to, but it's something that I'm capable of doing. We'll see. In my own speech, I talk about companies when I'm speaking to corporations, or what you might want to call public companies versus private companies, or whatever. But in order to avoid having to use 2 words to distinguish, it's very helpful to use corporations and companies and to use them consistently. The rule book as written uses the word companies a little too loosely, and there's a difference between, when I'm just discussing and the specifics that have to go into a rule book. And with the MA, we see some of the folly of starting a second corporation. Yeah, I did it right this time. Now that I'm down to only one train, I'm not making tons of money. I'm making 10 a share. Yeah, it's keeping my stock value up, but so big fucking deal, right? I am cash poor. Yes, I have 3 shares in here, and that $300, maybe I can get some of that in there, but I've got to worry about 2 corporations, neither of which has a permanent train, and the permanent trains have already started, and this is problematic. I'm using some of my cash to build track, to try to make the ME able to hook up more quickly. I still don't know what I'm doing with it, because this is a really bonus hex. So there's reasons for me to want to go there, but the problem is I don't have a sharp turn, so I can either go this way, or this way, none of which look particularly like the piece that I necessarily want to build. Upgrade can fix things, but I've got a big train on there, and I got nothing hooked up yet. And because I'm so cash poor, because I'm so worried about my corporations, I don't think I can try to figure that out anyway. I think what I need to do is just build the track that'll make me the most money. In this case, walloping 10 a share. It's never going to get too good, but if I get lucky, maybe I can get one of these, because I have the most cash on my corporation out of everyone. But a swallow by one of these guys might be able to push them there instead. Yes, I'm a little closer. A swallow wasn't going to do it for me. And that gets me on the last corporation of all, the LP. Right, here comes problem time. The LP is making a big run, 21 a share, upgraded this nice big setup. I have no cash in here. Well, if this was 1830, that wouldn't be a big problem. There's still a corporation available. Will I be the guy who gets it? Well, that's the problem. There's only one available. And also, feeders have not worked well in my last play. And this situation doesn't look like it's helping either. But building the corporation when the permanent trains are out in 1830 is usually a good thing. But I don't think I'm going to get a shot at it. So the question here is, do I want to take my 200, my big money in cash and possibly take a hit a little later? Or do I want to just do the swallow now? I'm not going to get enough money for the train, but I will have enough money for that additional train next time. Now, I can't buy that additional train because I've got 2 trains. Yes, I could buy this train, though, because there's a special rule in this game that's different from every other, which allows this. It allows you to buy a train that will scrap one of the trains you have. Again, a little easing, a little weirdness. So while I can't get this one, I could conceivably get that one. I think I want to bank this money, especially with so many people riding on me. Unfortunately, I'm never going to get the shares back in here, but that's life. That choice, though, means I don't have much money. I will not be able to start that feeder line. Guaranteed. Oh, shit. I don't know. I don't know which way I want to go. The problem is, if I run it, other people will get a shot at it. I think I'm going to go with the plan that I had, and that throws us here. This is now available for purchase. It's all set up there already. Has been all game, and we go into the stock round, and we're with Brown first. Well, Brown doesn't have a whole lot of cash. $180. I could start a company in a really shitty position. How's the DSE doing? It's not great. Ouch. So we may be looking at possibility of buying something from other corporations. Well, Moon Venture looks damn good, and the owner of that doesn't have enough money for another corporation, and he doesn't have a whole lot of stuff. Hey, maybe I have enough for another corporation, but do I want another corporation? DSE is not in the best of shape at this point. Should have swallowed, man. Yeah, again, buying that other corporation doesn't seem like a great choice to me. So I am going to buy, I think, another Moon Venture, if there are any. There is one over there. They're worth $80, and I should be able to buy another share of something if I buy that. I forgot the rule. I'm allowed to buy multiple shares, 2 shares at once. So 2 shares of Moon Venture. Bonus. It's risky, you know. If Moon Venture gets in trouble, which it shouldn't, but if he gets another corporation, I mean, it's almost impossible for it to get in trouble without another corporation. It's got a permanent train on it. All right. Next, he bought himself another intergalactic for $110. He's still got $75 left. Is there something he wants to buy for 75? LPs are only 70. What the hell? 2 LPs? Safe, not safe. Hard to tell. Hard to tell. Oh well. Since I'm not playing the role that I think is problematic, which is not being able to sell a share once you bought it, or a share of that corporation once you buy a share of that corporation. And again, the rules are ambiguous as to which way that should go. I'm going to do this. I have this big pile of money that I could grab out of Intergalactic. Do I want to do that? I don't know. I honestly don't know. It would really hurt Intergalactic to do that, but I only have 40% I can swallow. So if other people invest in Intergalactic, which doesn't look like a terrible corporation, then maybe I'm less interested in, you know, maintaining things. I really doubt that people are going to buy these shares, though, because that's putting too much money in that thing and making this too appealing. This would really help this orange player. Now, what this all means, though, is that we're on green now, and green is this guy. He's the one who could have, had he not swallowed, started space mining. Well, I have a Moon Venture, yeah, but it's not with shit. So I got 155 and 80 would put me to 230 something. That's just not enough to start a corporation at this point, I don't think. What is mine? Lunar Power. I did the swallow. Maybe I can push things. So let's say I have 200 or 155, 235. 3 shares at 23. I could start it at 70. And that would mean that there would be 6 shares at 70. 6 sevens is 420. 420 is enough to buy this. However, I'd be going last. Anyone else could get in there and do it. And I can't count on this, with its extra trains and all that, as being too much of a help for various reasons. Like, I could strip a train off of it, but then the health of Lunar Power becomes much, much less. It's really looking ritzy right now. Yeah, so here's the thing. I'm looking at starting space mining, not just to have that extra 20% share. Those seem to be less important in this game. Mainly because each corporation kind of has a risk associated with the additional trains. The trains fall so fast that having 2 corporations is kind of risky. So the only reason that I would want space mining is if it's a feeder, it's not going to be able to be a feeder. So I will not do that. which means I have 155 bucks. There's not a lot that's cheap enough that I could buy. I'm not allowed to buy any more of this. So now we're looking at, well, what is the best thing out there? Well, Moon Ventures are, but they're all sold out. Minerals Express has a good train, but it's not really there. It looks to me like it's time to start buying some intergalactic. And that's kind of cool. It's at a high price, I guess. Flush things out here with him buying an intergalactic, mainly because he didn't notice that there was a lunar power out there. Blue did notice and bought that up. And these go back into position. And now we're at the point where the stock, the public corporations have an opportunity to play in the stock market. And our first there is Intergalactic, which is sitting on a share that's worth 80 bucks. I almost certainly can buy that permanent train there if I sell this. So sell it I will. What does this do to the guy who owns Intergalactic? Well, he doesn't even have one of these. So that's 80 bucks going into his corporate treasury there. And that puts him real close. Somebody would have to buy all those out without any money going into here for him to be denied a train. That's making DSE very uncomfortable. They don't want to sell Lunar Power. Lunar Power hasn't made them money, but I think they have to. I think they have to exchange that train, that share, in order to get a little bit more cash in there, because otherwise he's got a real burden sitting on his hands. Basically, all the corporations have divested themselves of their shares. The train rush is coming. Nobody wants to sit around for it. Okay, now we go back into here, where Brown is up next. Without a lot of cash, their stock values have dropped for the things that they bought. You know, it's kind of funny, because the knowledge that the corporations are going to go, and this interaction is also not explained in the rule. What happens if all players pass before the corporations get a chance to do anything? The reason being, you don't want to buy shares because the corporations are going to dump their shares, right? Well then, does the stock round end and the corporations don't get a chance? Or do they get a chance and then the stock round ends? Or do they get a chance and then the stock round continues as long as one of them does something? Not clear in the rules. That ought to be specified, especially since this is a mechanism that's never been seen before. So that you have, like, or at least as far as I may have seen it somewhere. But yeah, that really needs to be nailed down. But it may not be in the game that it came out in. I'm not sure if it is previously there. Something tells me it's 1880. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't have much money. Who is this? Brown, yeah. Moon Venture doesn't look terrible. It's got its permanent train. I think we'll just pass. Orange, no money, a couple of LPs. I got this big pile of money I could take out of Intergalactic. But train run is starting to come out. Damn it. Intergalactic is almost it's assured that first train as long as I don't sell this. Now here's the problem. Once we hit the first 5 transport, this is gone. Okay. I may have collected some extra money from it. I'm not going to worry about that. And again, this is the problem with, like, each one has its own little rules. Well, I don't know what happens here. This one's special too, isn't it? This one's at the start of OR 5, something has to happen. This one is discarded at the end of OR 5. You know, I mean, and here's the thing. Let's say they've got this nice yellow track here. These tracks cannot be upgraded. It may be impossible to upgrade them because of the rift after the bridge goes away. The bridge company goes away. You know, right now it's impossible for anyone else to upgrade so that they go over the rift in a different direction. But that's just, there's some weirdnesses going on here. This is like a permanent terrain feature that doesn't apply to one player for part of the game. So where the hell am I? Well, he's not going to go. Green. Green has very little cash. Didn't do what he wanted to. Didn't make the choice there. He'll pass. Yellow. Yellow has no cash. He'll pass. Blue has some money. Blue could actually buy a second LP. What the hell? LP's only owned by one player. It looks healthy. Might as well. So by holding off, actually I didn't have the money to buy a second share of something. But by buying the LP, I end up with that. So that puts us back around, and I don't think anybody's decision making has changed. So we end up here. Wow, that couldn't have sold it anyway because the 5 train came out too quickly. What's sold out? Looks like LP is sold out and Moon Venture is not. So LP goes up here. We go here. Put some dice there to remind me that we haven't done anything yet. And we'll load this one up.